Is debt the reason you're broke, or is it actually the secret to getting rich? Think about that for a second. We've literally been told our entire lives that all debt is a trap, right? Just this giant financial weight dragging you down. But what if the exact mechanism keeping the average person stuck in that endless paycheck-to-paycheck cycle is the very same tool the financially elite use to build massive empires? Today, we're diving into the source material to completely flip the script on how we view borrowing and uncover a central paradox about money.
Welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to get into this with you today. We are doing a deep dive into the hidden financial rules of the wealthy, pulling directly from some truly fascinating insights in Capital Mind, the architecture of wealth mastery. This material does a phenomenal job of exposing the psychology and the exact systems that separate the rich from, well, everyone else. And the coolest part? It's not about how high your salary is. It's about how you deploy the capital you have, and even more importantly, the capital you don't have. We're going to decode the leverage secret that changes absolutely everything. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to look at the two faces of debt, dive into bad debt as a wealth drain, and then pivot to good debt and the leverage secret. We'll ground all of that in a real estate strategy without using cash, and finally, wrap up by learning how to think like an owner. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the two faces of debt. Okay, let's really dive into this because we absolutely need to shatter the myth that all debt is inherently evil. Debt is basically just a tool. It's like a hammer. You can use a hammer to build a beautiful house, or you can use it to smash your own windows. The debt itself isn't the bad guy. It's how it gets used. On one hand, you have bad debt. This is the stuff that actively drains your wallet. Borrowing money for cars, the latest gadgets, luxury goods, things that sit there and literally never generate a dime of income. But on the flip side, we have good debt, which does the exact opposite. It actually puts money into your pocket through things like real estate or profitable business leverage. It is wild to think about, but it's the exact same financial mechanism, just used in diametrically opposite ways.
Moving right along, Section 2, Bad Debt, the Wealth Drain.
Now, this is the path the average person ends up taking, and man, it is a cycle that's incredibly tough to break out of once you're caught in it. You see, a huge chunk of consumer spending is just purely emotional. We buy things for comfort or maybe a little status, and we use debt to finance that instant gratification. But it quietly drains our wealth. Just think about this number, 20%. That is the massive instant value drop that happens the absolute second a luxury car is driven off the dealership lot. You sign the papers, you roll down the driveway, and poof, 20% of that car's value just vanishes into thin air. Honestly, trying to look rich early on is exactly what keeps so many people broke. And the invisible penalty here, it's the opportunity cost. Yeah, sure, the car lost value, but the cash loss is actually the smaller problem. The real catastrophe is that if you hadn't blown that cash, or worse, borrowed money and paid interest on a depreciating block of steel, that money could have bought actual assets. Invested capital compounds. It grows exponentially over time. So buying status early is the ultimate wealth drain, because you are literally blocking your own money from compounding.
Okay, let's take a breath, slow down for a second, and pivot to Section 3, Good Debt, the Leverage Secret. So let's look at how the other half lives. If bad debt buys things that sink in value, good debt is the deliberate, highly strategic use of borrowed capital to acquire assets that actually grow and generate cash flow. But to really grasp this, we have to understand the concept of leverage. Our source material defines leverage perfectly. It's using systems, technology, compounding, or good debt to multiply your personal effort. It lets you scale your output way, way beyond your finite physical time. Look, hard work alone just cannot scale time, right? There are only 24 hours in a day. That's why the wealthy actively seek out leverage mechanisms to buy things that will relentlessly pay them back.
So the crucial point is that good debt works tirelessly in the background for you. It accelerates wealth creation because you aren't sitting around waiting decades to save up enough cash to buy an asset outright. It multiplies your effort and completely breaks you out of that active income trap where you're just trading your time for a paycheck. And here is the absolute core secret to how this safely works financially. The wealthy use leverage by making sure the yield of the asset, meaning the income it produces, is strictly higher than the interest rate of the debt. As long as that asset pays you more than the debt costs you to hold, that spread puts money directly and consistently into your pocket. Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, Real Estate without cash.
You know, whenever people hear about buying property with $0 down, they instantly assume it's some kind of late-night infomercial gimmick. But zero-down real estate is an absolutely real, highly effective strategy. It just requires applied knowledge instead of raw cash. And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanics of leverage in 3 straightforward steps. Step 1, you put in the sweat equity to go out and find high-value real estate deals. Step 2, you bring in partner cash or you negotiate seller financing. And Step 3, you split the monthly profits. You literally just used someone else's money, good debt, to acquire a cash-flowing asset without putting in a single dime of your own.
But hey, let's do a quick reality check here. Seller financing, which is where the seller actually acts as the bank, is a remarkably powerful tool, but it requires serious skill. We're talking deep trust and absolutely excellent negotiation chops. It is not some magic shortcut. You really have to master the investing fundamentals first. The core lesson here, in the world of the wealthy, specialized knowledge and high-level negotiation skills will consistently beat raw cash.
And that leads us to our final mindset shift in Section 5. Think like an owner.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate psychological difference that completely separates people. To escape that default lifestyle and actually execute these leverage strategies, you need a fundamental shift in your brain. Simply earning a high income doesn't automatically build wealth. You could take two people earning the exact same salary, and their financial destinies will completely diverge based entirely on how they view money. The consumer, they trade cash for status. They buy the fancy car, they inflate their lifestyle, and they just pile up liabilities. But the owner sees money entirely differently. They view cash as a tool. They trade cash or highly strategic good debt for assets that generate passive income streams. They're prioritizing long-term freedom over just looking successful today.
I really want to leave you with this powerful quote, straight from the source material, because it perfectly anchors the entire paradigm shift we've been talking about today. Never ask if debt is bad. Ask what that debt will build. I mean, wow. That one question changes your entire financial future. It stops you from acting out of fear, and it forces you to actually evaluate the strategic utility of every single financial decision you make. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to honestly ask yourself, is your next dollar buying status, or is it building an asset? Are you playing the short game just for temporary consumer comfort, or are you ready to adopt an owner's mindset, leverage good debt, and start building real, lasting wealth? Thank you so much for exploring these concepts with me today, and I will see you in the next explainer.